Unknown Destination is the newest album from Palestinian singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and surgeon Doc Jazz. And with a description like that, you'd probably wonder to yourself how he even finds time to make music, which would explain why his previous record, Love in the Time of Corona, came out in, 2020. But as any creative knows, when you're truly passionate about a certain talent, you'll find the time for it no matter what. Over his years-long career in music, Doc Jazz has dabbled in a wide array of genres, from pop, jazz, and blues to rap, rock, and Arabic music. As for his production, some songs contain live instrumentation, others use virtual instrumentation, and most are, simply put, a blend of the two. Genre-wise, Unknown Destination fits neatly in the adult contemporary musical category, with elements of pop, R&B, smooth jazz, and soul incorporated into his 9 tracks. The instrumentation on each track is superbly mixed, giving the album a consistently rich and textured sound from start to finish. And as to be expected, Doc exhibits some sharp songwriting and great vocal performances throughout, making the musical journey towards this unknown destination a remarkably pleasant one. The record starts off strong with Take My Word For It, whose mid-tempo groove and retro disco approach to the keyboards, drums, and guitars will, at the very least, get your feet tapping and your head nodding. Lyrically, Doc treats us to the first of what I'd like to call relationship scenarios, where he plays the protagonist in a scene involving a couple and a conflict of sorts. On this track, he has a heart-to-heart chat with his partner about her insecurities and how they prevent her from taking full accountability for her emotionally driven mistakes in their relationship. His reasonable approach to the situation is quite admirable, as he doesn't come off as overly demanding or cynical towards her attitude. And I do appreciate how the upbeat, radio-friendly production doesn't feel out of place with the song's portrayal of a much-needed relationship intervention. How It's Gonna Be treats us to some smooth, quiet sound production driven by Latin-style acoustic guitar riffs, light keyboards, and airy female vocalizing in the background. The scenario of this track centers on Doc's realization that his role in the relationship was to become a means to an end to his partner's pursuit and achievement of her goals. In addition to not having a full awareness of these goals, Doc questions if he was meant to be metaphorically disposed by her after his emotional reserves have run dry. As the album's first representation of vulnerability from its lead performer, this song is a true highlight. Up next, we get the title track, which is, in my opinion, the best song on this record. Right out the bat, the production is an absolute earworm with its bouncy guitar and drum combination and groovy keyboard lead. And it gets better later on with the inclusion of a fantastic horn solo after the second instance of the hook. Doc delivers a superb vocal performance on this track, with one of its key moments occurring at the tail end of the first instance of the hook, where he adds these elegant melodic inflections to the word destination. But where the song truly shines is in its songwriting, where Doc expresses the optimism he feels for the longevity of this particular relationship despite the uncertainty and unclear endpoint of this unified life journey. Why the writing works so well is in the way it can be easily transcribed into our daily lives to motivate us to keep moving forward while dealing with and learning from the hard times we must inevitably confront. Be Yourself to me feels like a thematic extension of the previous track, with Doc giving his partner a suggestion as to how their longevity as a couple can be easily maintained. This suggestion is built around the first half of the song's chorus, which he expounds upon throughout the song as words of encouragement directed towards his partner to be her truest and most authentic self. But the following line on the chorus makes it clear that he's not just saying these things to lessen any doubts she may feel about their union. Both parties should feel satisfied as a team and comfortable being themselves. On More to Life, the first of 3 non-relationship songs, we treated to a surprisingly insightful look at the value we place on money and our pursuit of it. Over a pop instrumental similar in tone to Take My Word For It, Doc makes the argument that life should be more about the friendships you cultivate and the positive things you do for others, and less about the pursuit of wealth to the point of devaluing yourself when you have little or no money. And in a world driven by social media and hustle culture, I can see people instantly dismissing this message. But I honestly think that it's a very important one that you may not want to hear, but you absolutely need to hear. Doc's lyrics are earnest and sensible without sounding hokey and preachy. And for that reason alone, I could easily see this song generating a lot of replay value. And I'll close this section of the review by saying that as a huge fan of the Wu-Tang Clan song Cream and the masterpiece it came from, I really appreciated this song's subconscious reference to that track at the end of the pre-hook. Speaking of song references, the album's second half begins with Get Real, which begins with a clever interpolation of the iconic chorus from the late, great John Lennon's Imagine. From there, Doc proceeds to critique the mindset of a particularly conceited and entitled individual with delusions of grandeur centered on achieving unrealistic and ultimately unrewarding goals. Get Real features an irresistibly jazzy instrumental, with its best moment occurring after the second instance of the hook, where we hear a lively horn solo that perfectly complements Doc's heightened delivery of the song's title. We then get another relationship scenario in the form of the following track, You Do You. Here we get a witty examination of how couples try to deal with conflict. Both parties go to their respective corners, distract themselves with random activities, and tell themselves they're trying to find peace of mind, when in reality, they're stalling themselves from rectifying the situation. And yet there's a light-hearted vibe to the song that makes it so charming and fun, emphasized brilliantly by its pleasant and carefree production. Things get serious on the penultimate track and album single, Change, which, upon first listen, reminded me of the Scorpions' power ballad, Wind of Change, a song that was literally inescapable back in 1990, thanks to the 1 rock/pop and 2 adult contemporary radio stations that my ears were exposed to during my adolescence. Now, for those who are familiar with the context behind Wind of Change, I'll leave it up to you to decide whether change is just as politically charged or not. But for my review of this track, I'll touch on its emphasis on the psychological concept of change. Over a reflective and somber beat, Doc utilizes nature-based imagery and the 5 human senses to examine the inevitability of change, how we should embrace it even when life doesn't go our way, and how we must let go of past burdens that prevent us from accepting this present state of our lives. Change is indeed a welcome, no pun intended, change of pace on the album, and a very emotionally potent song as well. Now, I love the fact that Doc used the word gratitude, a main attribute of one's acceptance towards change, as the title of his album closer, lead single, and final relationship scenario. Set to a laid-back, jazzy instrumental, laced with bluesy electrical guitars and soulful female vocalizing during and in between the hook and verses, Doc showcases his vulnerable side for the last time on the record. In this case, he asks his significant other why she isn't grateful for the time and energy spent on helping her and making her happy. Yes, we've seen this concept play out on countless breakup songs, but thankfully, Doc doesn't present himself as whiny or bitter on this track. He appears to be more disappointed than angry, treating this lack of gratitude as a roadblock on their already unpredictable life journey. Overall, this was a very enjoyable album that proves that even in his veteran status, Doc Jazz still has a lot to say and a lot of great music to offer the world. I truly admire the effort, care, and passion put into the production, songwriting, and vocal performances on this record, to the point that nothing to me sounded or felt dated, cheesy, or undercooked. Unknown Destination is sure to please even the most casual of easy listening music fans. And like myself, I know they'll leave this record looking forward to hearing where Doc's musical journey takes him on his next project, which is why I'm feeling an 8 out of 10 on this record. And that's my review of Unknown Destination, which will be out on March 27th on Spotify, iTunes, and on vinyl. When you do get around to listening to the record, which you absolutely should, feel free to let me know in the comment section to this video what your thoughts were on it. And yeah, it's a wrap.